Buenos nachos, amigos, and welcome to Record Breakers, a music podcast where a group of friends share music with each other, one album at a time. I'm Peter Raven, man with no plan. Here with me is my team, my squad, my crew. We've got Brett.
Lemonade was a popular drink, and it still is.
Yeah. We've got Drew.
Have you guys ever seen the music video for Instant Crush by Daft Punk? It's really fucking weird.
And we've got Patrick.
Just take some of that lemonade, pour it on my bourbon, and we'll have a party.
Woohoo! Patrick is joining us. If you're watching the video version, he's joining us by way of a picture of Alex Navarro doing headward 40 hands because his webcam broke.
Yep, so already ordered a new one.
Yes.
Finally gave up the ghost, you piece of shit.
Yeah. But that's neither here nor there. We're here to talk about music. We're talking about an album. That album is provided by Brett. Brett, what have you brought forth for the group today?
What I brungeth was an album that's kind of different than what I normally bring. I don't normally bring albums that have any of the people in this band. I brought the hit album Rumours by Fleetwood Mac.
Mm-hmm.
The U is important. It means we aren't in America anymore.
Yes. It's the right way
Well,
to
except for
spell
the
it.
members that were American.
Well, there were add-ons. There were DLC.
Yes.
There were DLC
They
characters.
God damn it.
Not day one.
Yeah, no, not day one. Yeah, let's talk about some expectations. Drew, what expectations did you have coming into this album?
Well, I'm fairly familiar with Fleetwood Mac. It's a band that a lot of people may know. They're a band of note. It's a band that I know a lot of songs from them, but I never put them together into like, okay, these are from this album or these are from that album. I knew this was the album that was sort of in the middle of all the turmoil. Come to find out, most of the songs I know might have been what we listened to this week.
Yeah, there's a reason why I did that, Drew.
Little underhanded throw there.
Yeah.
For all of us.
Yeah, this is the softest soft toss down the middle that I could have ever done. It's like this is on people's list of greatest ever.
This is T-ball.
Yeah.
Patrick, what expectations did you have coming into this album?
So somehow conveniently and by total coincidence, I just listened to Stevie Nicks' new biography a couple of weeks ago. So I was already kind of in a vaguely Fleetwood Mac-y mood, and I am now more familiar than I ever needed to be with the drama and turmoil that surrounded this record and frankly most of Fleetwood Mac's Buckingham Nicks era albums. But yeah, I mean, here's a spoiler alert. If you're over the age of like 26 or you ever listened to radio in the early 90s, you know 50% of this record without knowing you know it, because there's some hits on this one.
Yeah. They're to say the least,
60% of this damn record.
Yeah. Brett, how would you describe this album musically? What would be the themes elements?
Well, because I'm going to talk about the music mainly because, the story behind the music is deep and well covered by, skilled documentarians and
literally behind the music.
Yeah. There are better places to find that information. Let's just say it's fucked up. Like it's a feat that this got recorded at all. But this is either one of the most meticulously crafted albums, or it's just an album with so much quality that it is so noticeable. Like I don't know if the time, because I wasn't there when this came out. Sorry, but this is an album that you can tell the care and the effort that is put into this album. I believe Dave Grohl tried to he bought all the pieces to the recording studio that this album was recorded in.
It was the previous album.
Oh,
they
it was?
recorded the self-titled at Sound City. This was recorded elsewhere.
Okay.
Again, I just read the book. That's the only reason I knew that.
Which is why I want to do the music, because the production part I don't know as much. A big part of this album and what really the with the Stevie Nicks addition to the band, harmonies, they're second to none. Like it also is very unique because of there's nobody that sings like Stevie Nicks. It's a voice that I'm surprised was popular. It doesn't go a lot of places. It hits the right notes in weird ways. But it's very, very unique to hear a woman's voice in popular music in the 70s that sounded like that. And still to this day, there's a bunch of people that go to karaoke night anywhere, you'll hear some people trying to do it. But the vocal harmonies are very, very also difficult and well timed. I was very impressed as a guy who my favorite music doesn't have vocals. The drums and percussion are always present, but they're never in your face. It's not what you would call musical gymnastics, but it's there and it's important. Like a lot of things in this song, in the songs that I'm going to cover, there are things that are not necessarily up front in your face for the whole time because they're going to put the vocals in the front, but there are other pieces that are crucial, such as the bass. The bass is very simple and efficient, but it's still able to bring one of the most memorable bass lines in 70s rock music. There's also a lot of mix of acoustic and electric guitar at the same time, doing very different things in different ways together. That is very noteworthy, from the finger style, capo folk, to some heavy overdrive. It's dead on. And also there's really good use of keys. It fills the sound up. There's Fender Rhodes being used. There's it's a really good of the era. There's piano, there's the electric piano, there's there's organ. There's so many things going on, and I'm just really breaking the surface of what the album does. But those are the things I came to. The musicianship, nobody is standing out in front of the others. It's just this big mishmash of people that are meticulous in their craft.
Mm-hmm. Drew, how would you describe this album musically?
This album is, like Brett said, it's one of the great albums, period. There's no question about it. The thing about Fleetwood Mac in general, and the reason why they get the love that they get, is because the music is so standout. Brett's right. Yeah, there's the drama in the band and there's all that sort of stuff, but if the music wasn't good, they would just kind of be pushed aside, right? The album itself, as far as how it's pieced together, if you look who gets writing credits on each song, it's really, really crazy. That the album itself sounds as cohesive as it does, because everybody gets a writing credit depending on which song and stuff like that. We'll get into certain songs that shouldn't sound as good as they do and yet do. It all sort of opens up to sort of give credit to sort of the professionalism of the band in general, to be able yo, we hate each other, but we're still going to do this because we know we can make something awesome together. And it works. Stevie Nicks, again, is one of the most unique voices in music in general. It's something that necessarily shouldn't work if you isolate her vocals. It wouldn't probably be the greatest thing on its own, but the way that she melds into the music that they're making, I think, is really great. Buckingham's just a great writer, all in all, so all of his songs are really stand out. The McVie, the bass in this record is so great. It's just awesome. There's not really any, you go into an album looking to poke holes or bring things out, or you want to highlight something specific or detract from something and pick something up and say oh, well, this was bad, but all this stuff is great and stuff like that. You can pick anything you want about this album and it's gonna be good. Like it's like everything about it is so perfectly crafted to what Fleetwood Mac sort of is. It's got bits of blues, it's got bits of pop, but it's all this very like almost heaped in. I wouldn't say heaped in psychedelia, but it's got a twinge of that in places. It's it's all over the place in sort of like a mess, but not like it's weird, but in it's a great. It's one of the best records ever made. Like that's and if you know what Fleetwood Mac sounds like, it's a lot of that, and it's good for it.
Yeah. It's a good old heaping helping of Fleetwood Mac. Patrick, how would you describe this album musically?
You got three songwriters in the band, all of whom do different things, all of whom sing
Cocaine.
and do a lot of cocaine. This album was made by cocaine. But like the vocal harmonies are kind of unbelievable, especially considering the day and age we live in and how many people can't sing good. Although, that's not everyone, but there are a lot of people who are not great singers who make a career now. And this is a band full of people who could fucking belt it out perfectly and harmonize like in really, really beautiful, interesting ways. Musically, like it's 70s rock music. It doesn't reinvent the wheel, but it does it, exceptionally well. I mean, you get parts where it is, Fleetwood Mac started out as a blues band, and you get some stuff that's super bluesy, but also you get like that sort of modern 70s, sing along radio friendly rock and roll. And it works really, really well. As Drew said, this is like one of those all-time great records. It's the softest of softballs, but it's also like my experience of this, like listening to this was, oh my God, why don't I listen to more Fleetwood Mac? Like that, it made me think like, literally I was listening to this, and when I'd get through this, I'd go flip on the album before it because I needed more, but I wanted different more. And it's that good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's just so much good happening, so much quality musicianship happening in all the different songs. And the switching off of the songwriters does great for make for a great diversity. And it's just a nice little mix. But yeah, let's talk about some of the key tracks. So Brett, as we kind of switch off between these songwriters, let's talk about some of the key tracks to zero in on. What would be some of the key tracks for you?
Well, this album opens up great. Secondhand News is not just because it brings scat, which is a thing that we don't have enough of in this. Well, we have a lot of scat, but that's a different kind. But the Scatman Crothers.
Maybe I should.
He's gonna find me in the hotel. But the harmonics being played on the guitar with the thwacka 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 like muted bass is great. It's a great introduction of how like in the rest of the song you're going to have the harmonies. It's better than it should be because they have the harmonies. And okay, the chain. I don't want to bring all like radio hits, but like this is probably one of the finest, not the best, the finest songs ever written. The twangy acoustic paired with an overdrive guitar. The bass is fantastic. It shines, bringing one of the like most recognizable and simple bass lines that like everybody knows. Those like 4 or 5 notes. It's a song that like every other song on this, you can tell somebody wrote this because they lived it. There's a genuine feeling to all of these songs, and I love the fact that like people performing in the band are the targets of the song. It's great. I Don't Want to Know is a more folk styled song, but man, the bass work was great. the vocals also stand out, but the harmonies, like, along with the folky nature of it, it sounds like it's a leftover from the decade before. And then finally, Gold Dust Woman, a song that's been butchered on many a karaoke night and or by Courtney Love. It's sort of lost some of its punch because so many people, it's a go-to song for so many people, and that's a shame because there are not a whole lot of songs that are so adversarial in the way of this song. It's like, this ain't Jolene, but like this is a very like brutal song, and it's well made. It's obviously a song that's going to outlive all of the people that made it.
Drew, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Well, I have to bring up Dreams. It's one of, to me, the most memorable like female vocal performances like on a single song. It is Nyx at the height Nyx. Like, it is what it
Patrick
is.
Ewing?
Yeah. It's the best New York Knickerbockers performance is Dreams by Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah.
It feels like a cold envelope in your hand. Deep cuts. Go Your Own Way is easily probably my favorite Fleetwood Mac song. I'm a Sucker.
Excuse me.
Look, the band's name is Fleetwood Mac. The rhythm section's pretty good. And then the chain, the thickness of it is amazing to me. This is the song I handed at because, like, there's some dobro in it, which is weird.
Dobro?
Dobro. Dobro.
That would be a square neck resonator for you at home.
But also, like, it all connects together in a great way, which is weird when you consider, like, the story behind the song is, like, literally, it's like all the other members of the band were writing other music that never made it anywhere else, so they just chopped it all together and made this. And it works really well. It shouldn't, but yet it's like a rock and roll classic, and it's just it's the chain, man. Like, a lot of my review of this album is like, come on, man. Like, what?
Yeah. Patrick, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
So I'm gonna talk about one song from each of the primary songwriters because I think we can. Don't Stop, which is a Christine McVie song, keyboard player and second female vocalist, or first female vocalist. She was in the band first, so I think she gets that. Yes, it's a hit, but how do you not talk about how great that song is? It's got a little drum shuffle going on. The vocals are really great. You get going back and forth between Christine and Lindsay. Lindsay's got a really great voice when he's sort of belting it out, and it's very piano driven with guitar just sort of adding a little color and texture on top, and it's such a good song. And as someone who mostly likes the emo music, that's a very un-emo song, and I still like it anyway. Go Your Own Way, a Lindsey Buckingham classic. This song is the album in song form, like at least all the drama around the album, being mad at your girlfriend for sleeping with the drummer, even though she didn't, but you're convinced she did. That drama, but like the vocal harmonies are unbelievable on that. Like I almost want to go dig up like isolated vocal tracks of Go Your Own Way, because I bet they sound amazing. There's some really good bass work on it. The drums are like exactly what they need to be. Like Mick Fleetwood is he does the Ringo thing in that you never really think about what he's doing, except he's really good at what he does in a way I don't ever feel like Ringo was. Like he doesn't do anything, we're here at like a time when you had some drummers doing some gymnastics. I mean, this is, at the same time, you've got John Bonham being John Bonham and Keith Moon still alive and like guys who did wild shit. Mick Fleetwood was a little more laid back, but still a really, really good player. And then Gold Dust Woman, because I want to do a Stevie Nicks song. And this one is like super Stevie Nicks doing her kind of hippie witch thing. It's just a really nice song. And the vocals are just really nice. And I have a newfound appreciation for Stevie Nicks' voice. She's not doing the vocal gymnastics. She's not waving her arm in the air. She's just kind of this, it's slightly haunting, slightly raspy, but like really, really well positioned. And then I could talk about every song, but the Chain for the vocals alone, the vocals on the Chain are fucking unbelievable. It's just a dumb, really simple blues song, but the vocals are holy crap. You could talk about literally every other song and they're also good, but I'll leave it there.
I have to agree with Gold Dust Woman. Also, I want to shout out to Oh Daddy. Mainly want to question the appropriation of daddy culture there.
That Christine McVie was way ahead in like the 1970s on daddy culture.
Yeah, this cultural appropriation. I just can't. I don't hold with it. But yeah, let's bring it back around the horn and talk about some conclusive thoughts. Drew, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
This is an album where, like I said, you've probably heard most of it before. If we're being really honest about it, again, a lot of these songs have made it onto radio and for good reason. There are some times where radio hits are just like throwaway radio hits, and there are times when like the things that would get pushed on the radio are things that are really fucking good. And that's a lot of this album. Like I said, I think I said at the drop, like 60 to 70% of this record is things you've probably heard in one way or another before, and it's for good reason. You deserve to listen to the whole thing front to back, because sort of hearing it as it sort of was, and taking into account like how it was made, and that is just something it makes it really obvious when you listen to it from back to front, like all the things, and you look at like, oh, so they wrote this song, so like obviously that, oh, okay, and like connecting those dots is really, really cool. And it's just a great album. It's just a fun album to listen to. Like, why would you not listen to this?
Yeah. Patrick, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
This is a perfect record. Like, there's not a bad song on it. There's half these songs still get radio airplay now because they're that good and they're that timeless. Go listen to more Fleetwood Mac. Like, at least this era of it. I'm not as familiar with the early stuff or the later stuff, but Self-Titled, this, Tusk to some extent, although it's kind of a long meandering record. Like, the sort of like mid 70s Buckingham Nicks era Fleetwood Mac is such a good band. And this doesn't even have my favorite two Fleetwood Mac songs, and it's still perfect.
Yeah.
Like, that's how good it is. Is like, this is an album that leaves off some of my favorite stuff, and it's still, I can't fault it in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. It is just a fantastic record. You can't find much fault, if any, on it. Musically or even enjoyability wise. It's just a fun record to listen to just put in your car and drive to, and like to just have on and then in the background, or to just listen to and like explore spiritually even. It's just a fantastic record overall. Brett, what would be your conclusion on this album?
Well, I assume, because I have a sample size of one, our audience is younger than us, and even we're kind of too young to have felt the wave of this album. Like, yeah, they had their 90s comeback thing that they did. But this is an album that a lot of people probably haven't sat down and listened to. And just because it's, it's everywhere and it's been played to death, doesn't mean that there's not things that if you put your headphones on and actually listen to the music that you can't pull something out of. And while I was on the road back from California, Radomir put this album on and played the crap out of it. And I as a jaded old man, was like, wow, I'm more impressed by this than I thought I was. So, if you haven't, also why would you get this far into the album and into the show and not have listened to the album? But also, it's a great album. Like, take it from people that are better at reviewing stuff than us. This is a good album. So make it part of your knowledge base. It's good homework.
Yeah, and you'll enjoy doing this homework.
Yeah, it's a real upbeat. Everybody's happy in it. Like, it's
well,
it's one of the happiest albums of all time.
They're up, at least. I don't know about happy, but at least they're up. Yeah. All the girls standing in line for the bathroom. Yeah, let's bring it back. Bring it into our main event of the evening. Now we've got.
Hey, the horn can come out again. We can get around that horn second time.
Bring it to our haiku reviews. What the moment y'all been waiting for. Sum it all up in a poetic form. Let's bring it downtown. Let's bring it down. Let's get it started. Drew, what is your haiku?
Suffering for Art, a very easy album. I need a fifth line.
Yeah. Patrick.
Snorting furlongs of the devil's dandruff.
Yeah. Patrick, what is your haiku?
This is perfection. Now I must listen to more. Exceeds its own hype.
Yeah. Of course, I've got my haiku. A musical gem that was born of great conflict and musicianship. And Brett, what is your haiku?
Highly regarded. A shock this ever got made. Worth a listen, kids.
Yeah. So of course, you can go ahead and go your own way and listen to this record on our Spotify playlist. Play Record Breakers, the home game. We link it in the show notes of every episode, even in the ones that get to some of those podcatchers and whatnot. So you can just click that link and follow that playlist, and listen along with us. On that Spotify playlist will be next week's record, and that will be provided by Drew. Drew, what do you got for us next week?
Well, I got sort of pushed, maybe asked to bring another ska record. Somebody wanted a little bit of ska, so I'm going to go with a little bit of ska rock steady-ish dubby goodness from Manhattan. A little band called the Slackers and their 1997 album Red Light.
Yeah. So of course you can check it out on our Spotify playlist. Play the Record Breakers home game, but that will be next week, and this is this week. That brings us to the end of another episode of Record Breakers. You can, of course, find us all over the internet. Patrick is at The Swagger. Brett is at HeyBDRiver at HIBBITYBIBBARD. Drew is at XJuciferX. I'm at PD Rave. The show is 4 Record Breakers. That's the number 4 Record Breakers. RecordBreakersPodcast.com. RecordBreakersPodcast@gmail.com. Rebelli.net for this and other shows. Rebelli TV on places including YouTube. Check us out, like, share, subscribe, do all the things. Until next time, hasta los huevos.